To purchase the support of General Muhammad Zia-ul-Haq, Pakistan's autocratic president, Washington ignored not only his government's abuse of human rights, but also its nuclear weapons program. In that regard, President Reagan annually certified to Congress that Pakistan was not developing a bomb. In fact, his administration knew that just the reverse was true. Becoming the Islamic world's first nuclear-armed state was a major Pakistani priority. Given the overriding importance that he attributed to waging the Cold War, Reagan was willing to give Pakistan a pass when it came to nukes. So that's one thing Zia got. It's worth recalling that prior U.S. administrations had done much the same regarding Israel. For reasons of expediency, they had turned a blind eye to that country's secret nuclear weapons program. In the greater Middle East, Washington's commitment to nuclear nonproliferation has been selective, to put it mildly. With regard to Afghanistan, Zia's oft-stated aim was to, quote, keep the pot boiling, but not boiling over.
What did he mean by that?
Well, a protracted conflict across the border in Afghanistan wasn't necessarily a bad thing in Zia's view. If anything, it enhanced Pakistani leverage over Soviet-obsessed Washington and therefore purchased increases in Western aid. Yet Zia wanted to stop short of provoking a direct Soviet attack on Pakistan itself. Therefore, he insisted that his own intelligence service provide the conduit through which outside aid made its way to the Afghan Mujahideen. And he sought to exploit Afghan tribal differences to make Pakistan the ultimate arbiter of Afghanistan's fate. Americans in the thrall of myth-making movies like Charlie Wilson's War tend to see the Afghanistan War of the 1980s as a story driven by what Washington wanted and the United States did. But it was Zia himself who, more than any other single figure, shaped the course of events in Afghanistan that followed.
But didn't U.S. assistance play a major role in helping the Afghans get rid of the Soviets?
No doubt about it. As the war dragged on and the Afghan resistance proved its toughness, the Reagan administration came to the conclusion that Afghanistan offered an opportunity not only to bleed the Soviets, but also to inflict a major defeat on the Kremlin. The U.S. seemed to be getting a lot for a little. According to one CI estimate, the expenditure of $200 million by 1983 had obliged the Soviets to expend $12 billion in their effort to pacify Afghanistan. Meanwhile, Soviet casualties were mounting. Why not up the ante? So in March 1985, Reagan signed off on National Security Decision Directive 166. Henceforth, the aim of U.S. policy, according to this document, was to force, quote, the withdrawal of Soviet forces from Afghanistan. Top priorities were to provide better intelligence and to, quote, improve the military effectiveness of the Afghan resistance. This led the following year to a decision to arm the Mujahideen with U.S.-manufactured Stinger anti-air missiles. Soviet helicopters posed a real threat to the resistance. With Stingers, the tables turned. Meanwhile, back in the Kremlin, Mikhail Gorbachev had embarked upon his doomed effort to save the Soviet Union by reforming it. Gorbachev soon concluded that for his reforms to have any chance of working, he needed to liquidate the Soviet military commitment to Afghanistan. By early 1989, Soviet forces had completed their withdrawal, leaving the fate of Afghanistan to the Afghans. Soviet military leaders tried hard to give the appearance of an orderly withdrawal. Of course, U.S. military leaders at the end of the Iraq War in 2011 did much the same. In both cases, this was posturing, intended to avoid any acknowledgement of policy failure.
So, in the end, U.S. policymakers considered this a victory.
Well, that's precisely the way a famous cable sent to CIA headquarters by the agency's station chief in Islamabad put it. The cable consisted of just 2 words: "We won." Pretty much the same claim that Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger had made with regard to the tanker war. And as it turned out, equally inaccurate. There is no doubt that the Soviets lost the Afghanistan war in the 1980s. The "we who won" requires closer examination. It's a topic to which we will return in a future lesson.